of an immigrant is never an easy one. Oftentimes we leave things that we're familiar with, like family, friends, food, in search of bigger opportunities and pursuing the big dream. Join us today as we share the amazing stories of people who have made that kind of leap. Thank you once again for joining us on this episode of Community Connect, where we get to share the amazing ways people find to connect within the local community and how they try to make a difference. This is a follow-up to a recent episode on global citizenship, and I had a great time talking to Zen and to Ep4 about their journey as immigrants coming from Pakistan and coming from Chad and what that has looked like and the experiences in Canada. It was a really great time. Thank you for taking out of your time to share with us. So Zen moved with his family from Pakistan at the age of 13. His parents were trying to find better education opportunities for their kids, and that's what brought you to Canada, and we're glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Yes. And Ep4 made that decision to move from Malaysia to Canada after your education.
Yes.
And Ep4 is changing lives in a lot of ways. He runs a YouTube channel that has over 250,000 subscribers and has over 15 million viewers. And Zen is the chair of the World Partnership Walk here in Victoria. That's a local charity that seeks to support the Aga Khan Foundation. I know that your work is beyond here. For Ep4, for instance, you reach out to people through social media, through YouTube, and so that's outside of this local community. For Zen as well, the real impact of your work is outside of here. So how are you still able to connect with the local community in spite of your global outlook?
You know, it's dealing with every interaction as a conversation and an education, right? So the beauty of living in Canada and on the island is that people are aware of what's going on in the world and they want to learn, right? And that's an opportunity to bring them together and align them to a cause, right? And talk about things that they see every day, such as poverty in the world, health issues, food security issues, and what can we do in a tangible manner as Canadians to help alleviate those.
What I'm hearing is the world is moving from that place where the problems on the other side of the world is their problem. Now it's become our problem.
It's we don't have the luxury of thinking of it as somebody else's issue, right? It doesn't exist in this world anymore. It is how can we do and what can we do to help the world, regardless of where people are and what they do and how they live and what they, what faith they follow. It's about people. It's about people. Exactly. It's about communities. It's people like us who live somewhere else and are in some ways looking for an opportunity to reach their potential.
Right.
And in that way, we actually learn a lot ourselves, right? That is all about sharing knowledge, right? It's about just being humans and being global citizens.
Yes.
Right?
I know there's that ongoing argument around, do we contribute locally or do we contribute?
Yes,
and I'm sure that's something that you come face to face with.
Absolutely, and it's a very interesting question. And the question is, I can see poverty around the corner from where I live, right? I see people who need a hand here. I see people who are lining up for food banks, right? Why should I give internationally when the need is national,
local,
right? And historically we've thought about it as an or statement, right? It's like either I give locally or internationally. The world isn't an or statement anymore. It's an and statement. It's like I give locally and I give internationally. Because everything that happens around the world doesn't matter if it happens around the corner or if it happens 30,000 kilometers away. It affects us. It affects us, and what we do affects others.
And I think with social media, we're coming closer to each other.
Absolutely.
Now, a couple of years ago, the government started bringing groups of Syrian refugees to Victoria. So the first group that came, I volunteered with them doing interpretation, Arabic to English. Now, I was trying to break the ice on the first day because I understand what they went through. I saw them playing foosball on the first day, and that game is my game. So I jumped in without their permission and started playing with them. So two of them who I was opposite to them, they froze and they started looking at me. So I felt maybe I offended them, I did something wrong. and then they froze for like 5 seconds. They seemed very long, 5 seconds.
Okay.
and then one of them said, "You Akka, right?" I said, "Yes."
Oh.
I said, "I was watching a YouTube channel."
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
So,
wow.
so here's the thing. He was in a refugee camp,
Oh.
and trust that they don't have enough food, but they have Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So they were able to access YouTube, and they were watching my channel, and they were preparing themselves for Canada.
Wow.
Now, another thing happened just last month, and a guy approached me and said, "You're Akka, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I was watching your channel when I was in Lebanon." He's from Iraq. He was accepted as a refugee by the United Nations, and he was selected to be placed in Canada. He had to wait 7 years from the time he was accepted until the time he got his flight ticket.
Wow.
Now, when he got his ticket, they asked him where, they said, "The ticket money is ready. Where do you want to go?"
Yeah.
He said, "I want to go to Victoria."
Oh, really?
That's what he told me. He said, they asked him why. He said, "I'm watching this guy on YouTube. He speaks
Wow.
greatly about this city.
Wow.
That's the only city in Canada that I want to go to." And he's here right now. He's here.
Wow.
So that's how sometimes what you do in a certain place can impact your own local community.
Exactly.
And I feel that everyone can always do something towards that. Don't look at anything that you do in a way like you mentioned. No, actually try to look at it as something good you're doing, and it will come back. It will come
Yes.
back to you, and it will come back to you in a positive way.
Yes.
It will come back to your community in a positive way.
And regardless of who it touches, the bottom line is you're touching someone's life,
Yeah.
whether within your locality or even outside of that. Just doing good and becoming that person who really wants to make a difference. Yeah, I've heard you share some amazing stories of lives that you've impacted, but what I really want to get to is the man behind all of that, your own story. What are the things, where did you find that motivation? What was your journey like?
What really triggered everything for me is that when I was looking around me, I didn't find any mentors. I didn't find any success stories. There were only limited paths for me, and most of them were unfortunately either illegal paths or paths that don't lead you anywhere. You work in a factory until you are 60. That's it. There was no future, basically. So I had to decide that it's time for me to find a future for myself. So I was 12 and I walked into a night school for adults. And I said, "I want to study. What do I need to do?"
Why were you not able to go to school before 12?
The first reason was my family basically moved from Chad to Saudi Arabia when we had the civil war in Chad. So my family's priority wasn't really education. My family's priority was to survive. And until you are in a situation where survival is important, you can't realize really how that could impact your life. So, and they were not educated themselves. So they don't really understand the importance of education. And I don't say it in a way that that's something lacking with them. No, that they succeeded by taking us from a very dangerous situation to a very safe situation. But then we or the community had to take the next step and help us forward. But that didn't happen. So I got forgotten. And many people like me got forgotten. And that's why I call myself the forgotten person, and I call everyone I'm trying to help through social media the forgotten community. There are a lot of people globally who got forgotten by everyone, and they end up going through taking refugee boats, going somewhere, taking
And losing their lives
yeah,
in the process.
yeah. So I walked to that school. It's a very long story, but to keep it short,
Yes.
the teacher told me, "You're too young to be in adult school." I told him, "Daytime school, they tell me I'm too old. You're telling me I'm too young. What do you want me to do?" That actually made him decide to help me go into the school, and that's where my journey started. And throughout the years, throughout the different levels of education, I faced a challenge after a challenge after a challenge. I won't say I managed to successfully overcome them. I would say I was fortunate and lucky. And that what actually led me to try to do something about it. Because if I look around me, everyone I grew up with, the mass majority never went to school, or they finished a very low level of education, like elementary or something like that. So I decided I need to do something about that. And that's how my journey with education and social media started.
And now this is not just you. I mean, it's one thing to have all of those opportunities and to keep it to yourself. It's another thing to want to actually make a difference in whatever way you can. And what I'm learning from this is it doesn't take a lot to make a difference.
Yeah, and if you allow me, there's just one story that I want to share that
Yes,
just
please.
shows how much sometimes if you just use the tools around you, you can actually impact someone's life greatly.
Yes.
There was this, a person that I knew through my social media accounts. We were speaking online for a year. In my channel, I talked about a lot of different opportunities for scholarships, countries where education is free, like Norway and Germany and so on. Everything he tried didn't work out for him. He was just unfortunate. It's not that he was doing something wrong, he was just unlucky. And then after a year from knowing him, he told me, you know what, I met a guy who smuggles people to Europe. I have decided to go to Italy. I booked a ticket on one of those refugee boats, and he was going to there. When I heard that, I knew at that point I have to make a decision. So I told him, don't do anything. I will try to think of something for you, but you have to promise me not to do anything. I thought for a while. I said, let me speak to my community and see if we can help him. So I set up my camera. I started recording. I said, guys, one of our friends decided to take a refugee boat. As you know, as you're following the news, a lot of those people are dying now.
Right.
And the ones who do reach Europe eventually, their life go through an ended cycle of struggles after struggles. So I want to help him. Would you like to join me? I will apply for him to study in university, and I want you to help fund his education with me. And the channel, at that time, the channel had 100,000 subscribers.
Okay.
I said, if each one of us pays $1, we will cover all his education fee and everything. So I applied for him in a university that I was aware of in Malaysia. It was the tuition fee was affordable.
Okay.
I applied for him. I calculated the entire cost and said, guys, this is how much we need to pay for him. This is how much he needs for his living. This is the link is below. Please help donate. And within 2 weeks, we covered the entire cost for his education, for his flight ticket. We bought his ticket, and what we did actually, I asked him to vlog his entire process.
Okay.
When he was going to the Malaysian embassy to get the visa, when he got the ticket, when he's going to the airport, you can see an amazing actually joy on his face that you can't explain. You can see his face when he was going to the embassy to get his passport and when he came out. He was the same person, but it looked like it was a different person.
Yes.
And as we speak now, he actually finished his English course in the university and he passed, and he's waiting. In August, he's going to start his degree program. He's going to study computer science. And all that by just making one video and calling out to people. And if everyone uses the tools that they have, the avenues they have, your local community, people around you, your family, your friends, you can always change someone's life forever.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Thank you for
amazing.
sharing
That's
that. I'm
amazing.
sure, I mean, that guy's life has been changed
Yeah,
forever.
absolutely.
On a final note, what would global citizenship look like for you? I mean, everything that you do is being global, but for your son, your 22-month-old son, in 22 years, what are the things it would do that will make you say, this is a global citizen?
It's a very interesting question.
Right.
I think that they're forgetting the notion of other, right? And not thinking of somebody as somebody else, but as thinking of us as a big tribe, right? Like that we're all together. We're just people who look different, speak different languages, yes, but we're all just people.
Yes.
I think that's very key. And as I think about it, our role as Canadians and just people right now it's even more important that we do what we're doing and continue to do what we're doing, because if the trajectory is what it is, I don't know what the world will look like, right? And I want to look at it with possibilities and with optimism. And I think that's the key. I think we have to hold on to optimism,
Yes.
and we have to think of it that yes, there are enough people who are just waiting to be asked, right? A lot of the times when we talk about development and getting money and fundraising, many people say, well, I wasn't asked, so I never donated,
Right.
right? It's a matter of just asking, and I think that's what I feel the world would look like, and a global
Sense
true
of
global
it.
center will look like, is that anybody can ask for anything and know that somebody will be
Is
there to
willing
help.
to help.
right?
Yes.
I agree, yeah.
Yes. Akon, what would global citizenship look like for you?
I think when you see everyone as a human being, that's it, without any other attachments, without any other boundaries, without anything else. If you see everyone as a human being, and you treat them as a human being, I think we all will be global citizens. And I think, especially here in Canada, with all the challenges that we spoke about in the first episode and this episode, I think we really we are leading the race in that by being global citizens and by treating everyone as that. And I can attest to that by the amount of people who are reaching out to me in social media who don't live in Canada, who are watching from outside, who actually envy what we have here.
Okay.
So I think that's what a global citizen means.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I couldn't even add anything more to make that perfect.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Community Connect has become that place to find inspiration, to share the amazing stories of people who are doing what they can to make a difference in their local communities and ultimately in the world. I hope that just like me, getting together to hear the stories of these people, you're inspired to do something different. Do join us on another episode of Community Connect as we share even more incredible stories of people trying to make a difference in their world. I am Ruth Mojeed. See you next time.